Tēnā koutou e te whānau, nau mai haramai ki tōku aromatawai. Ko Renee tōku ingoa. My name's Renee. My presentation's called Kia mau te titi mō ake tonu atu, keep the titi forever. This is a picture of my whānau manu, called Manu Maka. A manu is an area that we go birding on, and yeah, it's called the manu, called a manu for us, Rakia Māori. So yeah, it's going to take us through a little bit of the pest eradication that's happened on a few of the islands down home on the western side of Rakiura, the southern western side of Rakiura. But before we get into it, I'm just going to do a little karakia. Yeah. Tau rewa rewa ki te karu nui, tau rewa rewa ki te karu roa, tau rewa rewa. Ka whate te tūātea, ka puapua te tūātea, ka tere ki te tae, karu karu e. Ka eke panuku, ka eke takaroa, haumi e, hui e, taiki e. So yeah, this karakia is talking about waves breaking and creating a new pathway. So it's a nice start to my presentation, and it's a kaitahu karakia. And although it might not seem like looking at this pikitia that we're close to the moana, it's just down here, just down this cliff here. And being on this mautere, you feel very connected to all aspects of the taiao. Yeah, so let's get into it. Te timataka. This presentation, or aromatawai, takes us on a hikoi through time. From the early 1960s, when the shipwreck, or the kiore, first arrived and devastated the Māori of Ka Mautere Manutiti, to the determined efforts of Rōpū Tuku Iho, Rakiura Māori, to restore the safety of tauka species. We hikoi through the present day, where the shipwrecks have successfully been eradicated from these mautere tapu, marking a powerful chapter in the ongoing story of kaitiakitaka and resilience. So yeah, in the 1960s, the shipwrecks first invaded the Mautere Manutiti, Pukuweka, aroha mai. And from there, yeah, there was a lot of devastation caused, but we'll get into that a little bit further on into aromatawai. So I've got some pictures down here. These pictures on the side here are from this year, a trip that my tamariki and I were on Te Kanawera. But I just thought I'd put them in here to show the different sorts of flora and fauna that we've got on the Mautere Manutiti. This here is a pūnui, which you only find on the Mautere Manutiti, and also on Bluff Hill now, because there's been lots of pest eradication efforts on Bluff Hill as well, Motupohui. So he also located these pūnui to the mainland as well. So yeah, let's get on to it. So this is a map of the different areas that we're going to sort of be talking about. This is Rakiura. So Te Waipainanga is somewhere around here. This is Rakiura. On the eastern side here, we've got all sorts of different mautere, and Mautere Manutiti. But in this case, what I'm focusing on in this presentation are the islands around here on the western southern side of Rakiura. So down here we've got Poho Waitai, where my partner and his tamariki and our tamariki go. And we've got whānau over here, whānau here, whānau here, and this is Te Kanawera. And so a lot of my kōrero today will be focused on Te Kanawera, and maybe because I'm a little bit biased, but also just because this is where I have the most connection to, the most wairuatanga and the most kotahitanga to this place, if kotahitanga sort of fits, I guess it does in a way. But yeah, so over here we've got Murderer's Cove, or Manu Maka. Murderer's Cove is a ingoa that's been given to it over the last couple, 100 or so years, but that's a story we'll get into for another time. But yeah, over here this is Manu Maka. So my whānau sort of have always sort of been in this area. My grandfather and my nanny, my dad's mother, married, and she was from over here, so we sort of got ties along here and all different sorts of places. And yeah, so that's sort of just how it is. We express rangatiratanga by ensuring that these islands are kept tapu by just ensuring that the people that come have whakapapa to these islands, and if not, they're married in. And if they're married in, there's also all sorts of different tikanga that come with that too, just to ensure that the mana is upheld of these moutere. So, another thing that I better just point out too is Matua Pat from Koputara, his whānau have their manu is just over here. So although I say that my whānau have got manu all over here, there's also different whānaus in between, and that's just sort of how it is. You live in kotahitanga, and you learn pretty quickly to live with other people when you're living in close quarters like this, and it's a beautiful experience. So this is a picture at the top of Rahui, which is this little manga that's sticking up over here. And I've taken a picture of this because I thought I'd introduce the Ngaitaka ki Murihiku Kiwaha Ki Uta Ki Tai, which pretty much, again, I'm talking about kotahitanga, which this is Rakiura over here. And so what it's sort of saying is what happens over there and what happens over here, it all is all one. So what we do over here can affect what happens over in Rakiura, and what happens in the moana there, and all in between is all connected. And so that kiwaha, ki uta ki tai, is easily seen in our landscapes. And this is a place that we've always come to as kids. It's always been some sort of like the first thing that we do when we're little that we've been allowed to do. It's really safe hikoi to go on with your whānau, and we express whanaungatanga doing this type of thing because it's a memory that we can all talk about, and when you're young and you haven't been, you feel a little bit left out, and so it's like something that we've always done as kids and continue to do with our kids. And there's lots of pūrākau and whakapapa that comes in history that comes with this manga, with all manga, but this is the concept of ki uta ki tai. Moving on. In 1864, the Rakiura Deed Purchase was signed in Aurua, Bluff, giving ownership to the Crown. Within this, there was the Moutere Manatiti were actually left out of the Rakiura Deed Purchase, not all of them, but some of them, and this is, from there's two different types of Moutere Manatiti. There's the Beneficial Islands and the Rakiura Titi Islands, or the Crown Islands. So the Beneficial Manatiti are ruled by whakapapa, and the Crown Manatiti are ruled by law. And so the Beneficial Moutere it was some rangatira in 1864 that were given ownership to the Beneficial Islands, and from there's whānaus that have whakapapa. The Crown Islands are a little bit different, where a little bit later on, after the 1800s, early 1900s, there was a book, the Blue Book, and from there, those who have whakapapa to the Blue Book were able to apply to go to the Crown Islands, the Crown Moutere Manatiti, and so from there you go to the court to get a permit. But for me and my whānau, we have beneficial rights, and so we've always gone to this island here in the same area that I showed you in the last slide. But we can also apply to go to Crown Islands, but hopefully that doesn't have to happen. But as the more babies that we have, who knows what's going to happen in the future. Okay, so let's get into this, the pest eradication. So in 1963, sheep rats, Kia ora Pākehā, first invade the Moutere Manatiti Pukuweka. Now I'll show you in the next slide where Pukuweka is. And from there, the Kia ora Pākehā invade the surrounding Moutere, and it's a very quick jump. You'll see in the next slide. Te Kanawera and surrounding Moutere are destroyed, and they're destroyed from the absolute devastation that the ship rats brought. They just ate everything. And it says here that they threatened Ngai Tipu and Ngai Kirehe, indigenous to the Moutere, so flora and fauna, but they didn't just threaten, they destroyed. They ate everything pretty much overnight, and this is the kōrero of my great-grandfather and lots of kaumātua of the time. So in between 1963 and the end of 1964 and continued, it just overnight is how it was described. Things were just taken out. The hakuwai, or the Stewart Island snipe, and the hurupounamu, the Steed's bush wren, became extinct that we know of. There is hopes that they're in the sub-Antarctic islands, that they'll come back, but at this stage we haven't seen any sightings. And that there was only 36 South Island tieke that remained at the time. The Kia ora Māori sent word of the devastation to the New Zealand Wildlife Service in Pōneke, and thankfully the Kia ora Māori and the New Zealand Wildlife Service worked together in recognising the devastation that the Kiore were bringing, and they located the remaining 36 tieke to surrounding predator-free mauteri. Okay, so over here we've got puka-weka, and so how the kōrero goes is that a fishing boat came and anchored up, and from there the rats have obviously gone on to puka-weka, the boat's gone or whatever's happened, and from there the rats were able to jump to surrounding islands. There's a video online called "The Island Eaten by Rats," and my great-grandfather's in there, and he's and in that video it actually describes the rats coming to the Motira Manotiti as the introduction of the kiore was described as the biggest ecological disaster in Aotearoa of the century, and so that's a pretty big statement to be made. We were very lucky in a way that when we put the word out to Pōneke that they came down and gave us tautoko, but they're also very lucky that we allowed them on our islands, in a way. Anyway, so throughout that time, from the 60s to the 90s, there was absolute devastation. My dad and my uncles and all that describe it as just like it was, in swear words is how they actually describe it. I probably can't tell you how they'd say it. They had to learn, Ropi Tuku Iho had to learn how to live with a new normal. Mattresses were eaten. The flour with inside the wallpaper was eaten. All of those tipu that I showed you at the start of the slide were not there. Punui is like a celery. It's a type of celery that we can also eat that I forgot to mention. Gone. It was a favourite of the rats. Growing up as a child, I used to think that, like, I was so lucky. I had a beautiful upbringing up there. But I didn't have a relationship with the manu because they weren't there. There was weka everywhere. There was a lot of brown, and I didn't realise that it wasn't normal. Another memory that I have is being told off as a kid at high school, telling the kids about how me and my paua had found some rats and then we drowned them because, we didn't have any poison and we didn't like touch them, didn't know what else to do. And they were crying because they had mokai kiore, they had pet rats, but to us they were pests and they were paru, so yeah. Anyway, this is a little bit of a kōrero. On to the next slide. In the 1990s, the Otago University students began to start research on the manutiti. And it was called Kia Mautititi Moaki Tonu Atu, which is where I got the name for this presentation. And what they did is they started monitoring the titi to see, to check their productivity and see how they were. And because of the research that they were doing, they started to band the titi, to see what they're up to. Now, titi are pretty amazing money. They go all across the world, and then they come home. And they come home back to our Motira Manutiti the nest, and they have their babies. And then us Ropi Tuku will come and harvest some of them, and we eat them. So they're a delicacy, and we're very, very lucky that they come home to us and that we've been able to do this. But anyway, on their trip overseas in 1998, a tanker vessel called Command released about 1,200 litres of oil off the Californian coast, and it called thousands of momo manu, thousands of different species of manu. And one of 11 titi was one of the banded titis from the university student. And so there was a lot of debate about who was responsible, but in the end, mitigation funds were released by the guilty party to undertake restoration of ka Moutere Manatiti. And the reason why we got this money is because of the banded titi, and so at the end of the day, there was wildlife people in America that decided that actually the native people in Aotearoa should have funds, and we were asked that because of the devastation that we've had with the backing of all the other parties that were involved, that we'd have some money to get rid of the rats. So this is what happened. In 2003, Ka Mate Ngā Kiore, KMNK, which is a non-profit group, was established to oversee the restoration of 4 different manatiti, starting with Pukuweka and Te Kanawera. KMNK Rōpū Tuku Iho was made up of Kaitaki Huaraki o Māori. So KMNK were made up of mana whenua, or if that's what you call them, or mana mautere, the Rōpū Tuku Iho, or Raki o Māori, of the Moutere Manatiti. So Ka Mate Ngā Kiore, Doc and other members of Raki o Māori that weren't actually a part of this but just volunteers, undertake planning for the eradication of the Ngā Kiore from the 4 chosen Moutere Manatiti, and this was in 2003. So before they start to really undertake some serious eradication, all gear that's taken to the Moutere Manatiti are baited before it leaves on the mainland to avoid gear contamination. Boaters begin to ground their whare in surrounding areas during the season. So during the season, everyone's baiting the areas, their workhouses. On the off season, whānau and Rōpū Tuku Iho are going down and excuse me, just a little drink of water. Whānau and Rōpū Tuku Iho are going down and baiting and making sure that this is all done before and after. Whānau are going down boating as well. So in about the end of 2003, aerial drops of broader whakaum, so the stuff that's not 1080, the other stuff, were aerial dropped all over the Moutere. And yeah, I know that 1080 is a big debate topic at the moment, and I was a little bit on the fence, but after doing this presentation, I sort of come to the realization that aerial poison does have its place, but anyway, that's a different kōrero. So yeah, there was aerial drops from there with the funding that came from America, and from there education is widely distributed about the eradication throughout all the brothers in the Rōpū Tuku Iho, Raki o Māori. They all learn about why it's important to bait the gear, why it's important to ensure that we don't have rats again, the devastation it caused, how special it is that we have the taonga that we do. We knew that already, but actually losing it is what really made us realise, holy moly, like we've got a special taonga that we need to, continue to look after. Yep, voters continue during the off season to go and monitor the effectiveness of the eradication for several years. Monitoring and baiting continues. So today and onwards, Ka Mate Ngā Kiore, all the rats are gone. There's no more rats on the Moutere Manatiti. And growing up, all of those memories that I've had and the kōrero that my dad talks about, because he was born in 1969, so all he knew was the life with the rats. So seeing it now is a dream. My great-grandfather, James Bull, he didn't get to see the islands again without all the rats, and one of his biggest regrets was not really loving. Well, he did. He loved the manu, but when they were gone, he really was mamai for them. His nākau really longed for those manu to come back. So I'm really glad that me, my tamariki, my grandfather, his son, got to experience that. My dad and all of that, we get to experience that now. So I just thought I'd share a couple of videos from here. This is on our manu, our birding grounds on Te Kanawera and on Te Maka. And if you listen very closely, hopefully I've got this up loud enough, I think you can hear 4 or 5 different species of manu. I'll just grab the remote and I'll quickly turn that up. Do you know where it is? Cool. There was a teark in the end. And my babies. You'll hear my babies in all these videos coming up, but this is a part of the experience that we have down here is you let the babies first fall in love with the mautere and the different species, the ngangara, the manu, and from there they just, a natural born kaitiaki, things just come naturally to them. My son's always growling me for little things that I wouldn't have even thought of, and when he brings it up I go, oh true. And it brings back memories of when I was a child with my paua walking through these same tracks and the things that we used to talk about. So over here we've got my whānau at the top of Rahui at the maunga that I showed you where we introduced the concept of kia te kitai. I've got all my babies, my whānau, the babies in here. This is the track on the way up. You can see the moana out in the background. And our kia ora. Maraikura, Hoipa, Lewe and me. My baby's in our workhouse. At night we go out in the torching season with our torches, and this is when the manu titi like to come out and get all the down feathers off. They come and shake it off in the wind and rain. So at night we go out with our torches and get them, but earlier in the season they're still in their burrows or their rua, and that's when we get them out of their holes. And I've just got a couple more videos here. This is tieke, kākariki, and taruai, which are the little robins. And just about all of our species of momo manu have returned back to our mautere manu titi, apart from the hakuai and the hurupainamu. Again, hopefully they do come back. Kotahitaka again is expressed on our mautere because our tamariki do have a relationship with and a hono with all of our atua being so connected to our taiao. And just like us, our manu, just like us, the manu titi return to our mautere every year after being away. We go back to the mainland, we come home to our mautere for a few months every year. Yeah, let me just play these videos. Tieke. Kākāriki. Maraikura. The wee robins. Over here we've got my whānau, Halen, my two stepdaughters Nia, Aubrey, Maraikura Hoipa and I on our way up to, on our way on the chopper to our mautere manu titi. Over here we've got Rahui, which is, pause for a second, babe. Ready? Yeah, so this is up Rahui again, and this gully in here, this big valley, we go up here with the kids and get them to do a karanga or a haka or just have a big yell and have a big katakata up there and it echoes, and it's just, again, trying to create that hono with the tile, with the tamariki. Down here our little creek. Oh no, it must be over here. Over here there's actually a ruru in the picture, but you can't quite see it because my camera's not that good. This is our little beach down the bottom that I was talking about when I said about the waves just coming in at the bottom there. And this is our little whare in here, with Uncle Renee and Maraikura sitting at the tipu. Our little awa, you know. And babies just enjoying themselves. Right, whakakapi, the conclusion. Rōpū tuku iho have been able to express multiple kaupapa tuku iho through the privilege of whakapapa and being able to go to these mautere tapu. As uri of ka tipuna o ko mautere manu titi, we will one day become those tipuna spoken about. Because of this, we must continue to collaborate with other whānau, hapu, rōpū tuku iho, to ensure we have this tauka mo ake. Again, just the whānau out on the chopper pad having a good time. This was about 3 or 4 years ago, and this was this year. Yeah, and I've just got my kuputaka, my glossary. Nō reira, tēnā koutou, tēnā koutou, tēnā rā koutou, katoa, kia ora.